Hi, everyone. This is James Patrick from the Forum Celebrity Podcast. Florence, Carmela, and I wanted to talk to you about what was going on in the Alec Baldwin Russ situation. Let's get right to it. Many of the lawyers are now doing the rounds in the media, and Hannah Gutierrez-Reed's two lawyers, Jason Bowles and Robert Gorence, were on several shows. Their initial defense of Hannah is bizarre. They state that she went in and got blanks and that someone in the crew who was disgruntled because of all the conditions and all the complaints put live rounds in the box to sabotage the set. So what they're saying is that she took the dummy rounds, put them in the gun, and had no idea they were live. Every armorer says that's ridiculous because you always check the bullets, and we'll talk about that in a minute. How in the world could anyone experienced with guns, especially being an armorer, not know the difference between dummies and live rounds? Now, some of you have asked to explain the difference between dummy blank rounds and live rounds. Not everyone has experience with guns, so we'll do it real quick. Dummy round looks like a live round, a live bullet. It has a projectile at the end of it, but has two BBs inside it, and the primer has been punched out. A real round has gunpowder instead of BBs in it, and the primer isn't punched out. Armorers state that before they put a bullet in the gun, they actually shake the dummy, and you could easily hear the BBs. Even if you move it around, you can hear the BBs. So it's pretty easy. You also look at the primer, and it's punched out. So the difference, if you're experienced, is pretty easy. Maybe someone who's never dealt with a bullet couldn't tell, but to someone with experience, it's very simple. Now, a blank round is really easy because it looks different. It's crimped at the end of it to hold in gunpowder, but there's no projectile, and the primer hasn't been struck out. A dummy round will not fire. That's when you use dummy rounds, you could add CGI, sound, whatever. When you want to see the effect of a gun, you use a blank round. It produces fire, smoke, sound, but no projectile like a live round. So those are the differences. So many of you are now saying, wow, I get why she couldn't have made that type of mistake. Now, something that I would have talked about more is Hannah has said that she was hired for two jobs, a props master and an armorer. Now, I believe Sarah Zachary was the props master, but many of the armorers online and in interviews have said that small movies in Hollywood are starting to hire people to do double duty on two jobs. So even though someone has a title of another job, a lot of times that they're having someone do that job to save money. I would have talked about that more than, oops, I picked up dummy rounds and I'm responsible for live rounds not being on set, and I picked up the dummy rounds. I had no clue that they were live rounds and they were used in the gun. To me, that's not a defense. I would have stated that they shouldn't have hired me for two jobs. I'm inexperienced. I thought this is what you do. It was too much for me because most armorers said unless you have great experience, it's too much for almost anyone to do those two jobs. Brian Carpenter, who has been doing some interviews as well, he's a long-term armorer. He has said that this is why a lot of armorers will only work with certain production crews. In most cases, most armorers that I talk to and also some online have said sometimes the directors will hire them or they'll know a producer, but a lot of times it's the props master. That's the one that does the hiring of the armorer. And many armorers will only work with certain people because they're scared of the safety situations. Most have said, especially since COVID, they've cut so many corners, and some sets are kind of scary. Now, another thing that made waves was that the first props master that the movie really wanted was Neil Zaromsky, who has 30 years of experience in Hollywood. He's very well known. He's done big and small productions, and he was really wanted for this film. They spoke to him for 4 days, and he stated, he told the LA Times that after 4 days of talking to them, he had this horrible feeling that after 4 days of talking with them, he had this really bad feeling about the movie. He said there were massive red flags. I felt Russ was too much of a slapdash production, one with an overriding focus on saving money instead of concern for people's safety. Production managers didn't seem to value experience and were brushing off his question. After I pressed send on that last email, he was quoted, I felt in the pit of my stomach, that is an accident waiting to happen. Another person that spoke out was camera assistant Lane Looper. NBC News got a hold of his resignation letter, and he said it was very fast and loose set, and there had been 2 accidental weapons discharges and 1 accidental explosive discharge that have gone off around the crew between takes. In my 10 years as a camera assistant, I've never worked in a show that cares so little for the safety of its crews. Looper said that they rarely had any meetings. The production crew for Russ came back and said we had 3 safety meetings the first 10 days, and we had one on the day of the shooting. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if you had one on the day of the shooting, why did the shooting happen? And of course, the representatives of Rust have said that he was mistaken in all the safety issues. A couple of you have been talking about it online, and it was pretty funny. Alec Baldwin, who never exactly is Mr. Public Relations, he put up a post that was posted by a person that worked in the wardrobe department. I think she was the costume designer, but don't quote me on that. Therese Magpale Davis. And her first statement was, I'm so sick of this narrative. I worked in this movie, the story being spun of us being overworked and surrounded by unsafe, chaotic conditions is BS. She goes on to talk about everything was fine. They were given hotels. It was copacetic. Dave Halls was safe. Hannah was safe. She talked about not making Hannah a poster child for better conditions. Well, if there's better conditions that are needed, why would she be a poster child? So Alec Baldwin took her, I believe it was a 7-page statement, and screenshotted it and posted it. And someone said he even posted on Twitter, and I haven't seen it on Twitter, but he posted all the pages on his Instagram page. And boy, that didn't go well. A lot of people that were even on set and some people in the industry said, this is just ridiculous. And one even laughed, how many safety meetings does the wardrobe department go to? So a lot of things going on, but it was kind of funny that in all the negativity, Alec Baldwin has to use something like that. The LA Times reached out to Davis as well as Baldwin to comment on this, and Davis would not respond to them. And Baldwin said his rep said he was not immediately available for comment, and he never did comment. So was this staged? We don't know. It is what it is. Now, the statement that really got people going was Dave Hall's statement, which to me is just either the most arrogant, self-absorbed statement I've ever seen or just bizarre. I have no idea. But Dave Hall stated that I'm shocked and saddened by Helena's death. It's my hope that the tragedy prompts the industry to reevaluate its values and practices to ensure no one is harmed through the creative process again. And I'm sure his lawyer checked out every word. Hall's added that he's been overwhelmed by the love and support he's gotten, and my thoughts are with all who knew and loved Helena. This is from the same guy who has a reported history of issues on sets for safety, and a guy who admitted when he took the gun, couldn't remember if Hannah had spun the cylinder for him. There's stories that she wasn't even there. You kind of can't believe anything that is being said by some of these people, but that statement to me mouth dropper. Dave Halls. So let's do this in a nutshell. Hannah's lawyer said it wasn't her fault. She went into the box of blank. She grabbed what she thought was blank. Someone in the crew sabotaged it by putting live rounds in the box. She didn't know it. She put it in the gun. Dave Hall said he didn't check all the rounds, so he didn't know what was live, what was blank, whatever. He didn't know. He couldn't remember if Hannah spun the cylinder, and now people are saying she wasn't even there. There was target practice, and this is confirmed with many people that were on set. Hannah says she never heard a bullet, never heard a shot, never heard anything. She never participated. She had no idea any of this was going on, even though she was in charge of the guns. The police did the investigation, and she gave them the gun. There was a spent live round in the gun, which gave that to the sheriffs. When they also checked the ammunition, which she's in charge of all the ammo, they found live rounds mixed up with blank rounds and dummies. Live rounds should never, ever, ever be on a set. Hannah stated that she was hired for 2 jobs. Alec Baldwin is posting massive Instagram and Twitter posts. I don't know if he put it on Twitter, but Instagram posts of people defending him. And Dave Halls wants to clean up the industry. He may be the problem in. Lordy, lordy. This story is obviously not going away. Many people in the industry are now speaking out. Many don't want any more guns on set. They want the whole industry overhauled. This story is not going away. This is going to take weeks to months to figure out what's going on. On Monday, we are going to have something out that no media outlet has talked about, which is the key question to this case. Make sure you check us out Monday, and thank you all for the kind support. Take care. Have a great day.